Welcome to the December 16th Board of Selectmen meeting. We'll start with pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Break down number 3. We got Linda in the audience this evening for Dark Skies. I'm gonna turn it right over to you.
Okay, all right. Well, a few of you actually were on the board a couple of years ago when we did the lighting ordinance for dark sky. At the time, I was pretty new on the project, and there were a few things I didn't know. And, one thing I didn't know is that there were pieces missing to that ordinance that was submitted for approval. I've since been in communication with the Dark Sky organization, and in order for us to be certified, we need to amend the lighting ordinance to include the things that were, that weren't included first time around. I have a list of what needs to be done. I can read it off, but I made copies for you if you're interested.
Yeah.
Some of the things are already, things like the public street lights. They have to be included in the ordinance. But that said, we already meet the qualification. So,
Listed in.
What's that?
Need to be listed in.
yeah, some basics, I mean, this isn't the exact language, this has to be, expanded. But these are the topics that have to be included. So streetlights, we need a paragraph about what the, parameters are for the dark sky. Parking lot lighting, that sort of thing, recreational lighting. These are things that we kind of already do, but it needs to be included. It needs to be in writing in the ordinance in order for us to get certification as a dark sky community. Gas station canopy lighting, we have 2 of those in town and they're already fine. Vending machines, this was interesting, but we don't really have any, except there was an old Coke machine beside the old IGA years ago, sitting out there in the corner. And if that's lit up at night, it's just not cool for dark sky, you know? Things like flagpoles that really are fine, and towers, we already need that, and then some lighting zones that have definitions, and very low ambient light would be like residential neighborhoods, things like that, that just kind of need to be defined. And I'm also working with the sign committee, ordinance committee right now, for the signs. And that's going well so far anyway. But what I need to know, I guess, is because we need to amend this, I thought the timing was probably good because we're gonna have to go on the sign ordinance in June. And if we can get this lighting ordinance amended, we can do the same and get it all taken care of at once. I guess I probably need your approval to move forward with that, with the ordinance committee and the planning board. I'm not exactly sure what the protocol is.
Yeah, send us down to the ordinance committee.
Mr. Chair, yeah, this would involve ordinance committee and the planning board because it's chapter 38. Okay. We would be involved with this.
I don't know if you tell me what I do next.
I'll entertain a motion from anyone, send that down.
Make motion to send the new amended specification for the dark skies to the ordinance committee and planning board.
Second. A motion from Sam, second from Jake, any other discussion? All in favor?
All right, so moved.
Thank you.
That easy enough?
But it is easy.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
All right,
Okay.
yeah. All right, any public to speak on an agenda item? Mark?
Mark Borgata, Ranger resident. At your last meeting, you had someone zoom in from the MDOT and then you got into kind of a lengthy discussion about, sidewalks and pedestrian safety, that type of thing. Just a few days later, picked up a copy of the Franklin Journal, and there was an article in there because they had a person killed a pedestrian killed in front of their post office down there on Main Street. So, they had a big walkthrough, got a lot of people involved, a lot of discussion and stuff. And, I thought there was some real good information that you might like to look at, you know, to trigger some additional discussion and some ideas and maybe some contact. So, I didn't know if any of you were in digital detox or not, and I didn't want to relapse. I took it upon myself. Drink you each a coffee.
Always need to have a hard copy, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a speed thing, it was a visibility thing. And since then, they've taken a concrete jersey barrier and placed it in the pocket spot next to the crosswalk to improve the visibility.
Yeah, all information you can get.
Great.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Anybody else? Hang on, all right, we've got some boards and committee minutes. Sewer commission, planning board, ordinance committee minutes. We'll jump down to number 6. We have our minutes from the December 2nd meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the second, regular board selection.
Motion from Sam, second from Keith. Any other discussion? All in favor? No move. All right. Next items, we have liquor license for the Unreach Road.
Make a motion to approve liquor license for the Henry Trout,
Motion from Sam, second from Keith. Any other discussion? All in favor? So moved. Another one from Moose Tower.
Make a motion to accept the license for Moose Alley Operations LLC.
Second. Motion from Keith, second from Jay. Any other discussion? All in favor? 4 in favor, and Sam, you're abstaining? Moved on that. Down to capital purchase of snow shingle sewer. Joe, you want to give us a little back on that?
Here in the budget process last year, we identified through the capital reserve sheet that the sewer plant was ready for a snowmobile replacement. In the sheet, we identified it, scanned it, that's what we talked about. In the proposal to you tonight, actually the Polaris model, that was the preference of the folks at the sewer plant. The total that we put in the budget, as I recall, was about 18,000. This item that we're presenting tonight with the skid plate and studs is just under 12,000. So I'm asking for permission from the board to select that model not to exceed 12,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Ethan, second from Sam. Any other discussion? All in favor? So moved. Joe? And then you want to give us an update on the Portrait Park, phase 2? Phase 1, sorry.
Yes. This is phase 1 improvements of the Classic Park project. It's the first and final pay rec. It does include 2 change orders. The first change order was approved by the board. That was for vinyl coating on the chain link fence. Then we have the second change order, which we call a balancing change order. That had to do with quantities that were kind of approved and adjusted in the field. All of that was fill material. Some of that was for a ramp that was put into the tennis court in the back. So some incidental things that occurred during the project. We balanced out. The total of that was right around 5,000. So the long and short of it is the town meeting warrant article was about 272,000, as I recall. At the end of the day, we're $12,000 under that. This would come from the TIF project account. I believe there's a space suggested motion there, so I'm asking essentially for your authority to pay for pay rec one from the TIF project again. And I, from my desk, have authorized that second change order, which balances the quantities from the final change order.
I make a motion to approve pay request number one for the Quasit Park Improvement Project in the amount of $219,747.55 to be paid with funds from the TIF project account as authorized under Article 322 by the town meeting.
Second. Motion from Diane, second from Jake. Any other discussion?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
No, you just, I think you answered that once, but. That second change order. Some of that is that some of that sub-base gravel line 13, where it goes from estimated 480 cubic yards to that 999.
Yes,
That's
that's the bulk of that change order is the sub-base.
thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor? All right, so moved. Now, old business, we have a CD and Scott Egan that's coming due. Reached out to Egan last time, who were meeting, we were waiting for the update, which we received.
That is correct. Chair, the offer from Scalvidian was 4.25% for 91-day term. The automatic renewal actually takes place tomorrow. There's a 10-day period. So I heard from them between the last meeting and now. I should let the board know, because I told Becky Franklin that I would. She emailed Friday, and I saw it. I was off duty Friday, so I emailed it. Franklin offered 4.5. I told Becky that I would let the board know, but I also Franklin, Scalvidian, I thought that was the right thing to do. Scalvidian held it there at their rate. 4.25, but I did the math on that just so that the board would know the difference between those two rates at 90 days or 91 days. The long and short of that is it's $82.39 difference. So if you were to let that roll over at Calhegan at these rates versus going to Franklin, at Franklin it would be $82.39 more if you went there. The difference is $82.39. It's the board's pleasure with what you'd like to do with that. While I was thinking about it before the meeting, if it's of any use to you, Scalhegan did during the Tahoe lease process come in with by far the lowest lease rate. So it did save us some money. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
What's your pleasure, folks?
And if you did put it in for 90 days, it would be available to you without penalty March 18th, 25. While you think about that, the gain for 90 days would be in the $1,500 range. So it's $1,500 at 1506 versus 1423. So it's about $1,500.
$80.
About that, that's extra dollars, extra dollars, extra dollars, so.
And how much work's involved here in the office to switch banks over $80?
Phone call or an email, probably some forms to fill out.
What are those spoils?
And then locked in with that
191.
for just 91 days,
Yes, that's
so then we have to redress this.
Make a motion to go with Franklin Savings Bank, 4.5%.
I'll say.
Motion for me, and second Keith. Any other discussion? All in favor? All right, speed study survey. We did on this a little bit at the last meeting, and we got the final results back from the state. No action on that, right?
No action is required this year, it's just a follow-up to, what Tim had basically touched on multiple of those things that he zoomed in with you last week, but this is the formal report back to kind of close the loop on that for those involved. So,
Thank you. Number 9, Haley Pond Stakeholders Committee, something that we're hitting on year after year.
I've had some interaction with folks who live near Haley Pond, and they have some interesting questions. Most of them are about, why is the water level where it is? And the answer typically has to do with the town handles it because we're trying not to flood out folks downstream. In a nutshell, we're trying to mitigate emergency situations, and then this time of year, wintertime, we like to make sure it's open so it doesn't freeze in a different position that we can't control it. So if the gear's frozen, freeze in a position that's halfway or midway, we can't do anything with it. We leave it open in the winter because of a big influx of water. We want it to be able to get out. So that's really about as scientific as I get in it. Now, I know there are other folks, that handle it on a more day-to-day basis, that work for the town, that know more about it than I do, and have more of a heartbeat of it. That have explained it to others, the best that they can. But the question really comes down to, should there be more a scientific policy? Then I ask myself and others, might listen, why is the town involved in it? Is there some bigger picture to this that we should look at? Is there a long-term way to maybe have some electronic controls? Does it really need to be there? There may be answers to that I don't know. Maybe we should take a look at this kind of holistically. Because there are folks that ask those questions. One of them is with us tonight. He may not want to participate in the conversation, but he is with us, Mr. Gould.
I have no problem. So, Joe is right. We've approached him for about a year now, just trying to understand the policy for maintaining the level. And I think it didn't take long to come to the conclusion there wasn't anything in writing, and we're no offense, but we're winging it. I think they have someone maybe working for the town that kind of lifts it up and down. So I did have some dialogue with Joe maybe 2 months ago, and he said, yep, the policy is during the wintertime, we leave it wide open so the unit doesn't freeze up. And photography is an important element in our world, and I can go take pictures since 2017 to show that it's just been the past couple of years that they've left it down because the level is so low that you have an island out towards Gull Pond Stream deposit, and then you have all kinds of roots and stumps that create obstacles. We also have a lot more vegetation because the heritage group, they went and talked to some biologists, and they said because it's lower, more sunlight's getting down, and more vegetation is growing, and you can tell if it's good or bad. The other thing that's kind of dear to my heart is the state stocks it twice a year. October 23rd, it was bone dry, and they put 450 brook trout, 14-inch long, and they don't have the volume of water that they used to have. And so the pictures show that basically from 22 on, this practice of lowering it all the way down is taking place. And discussion I had with Joe, well, it was bottomed out twice last year, and it didn't make a difference because what comes in goes out, and we still flooded the other side of the dam. And so it's just trying to get all the stakeholders. So there's a bunch of people, that have businesses that are tied to it, everything from, there's a canoe, national canoe, something that goes through there, and right now their access, through is it bottoms out. They have to get out and kind of weed through all the stones at the other end. So I think, there's enough variation taking place now that, our climate isn't as predictable as it used to be. And so I've been, in the discussions with Joe, trying to figure out how we move forward, how do we come up with a policy that kind of meets everyone's, needs and desires, and so that's kind of the introduction to an outstanding, subject.
Can I ask you, Ed, like, what's out of the pond do you want? That's okay.
The side of the pond,
What's out of the pond, what's your residence?
153 Stratton Road.
It just helps me understand, proximity of the pond. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I will also follow up on that. Luckily for me, I mean, there's a ton of historical data that's kept on file at the Chickio office. I know that for a fact. There's folders and folders and folders of, couldn't tell you exactly what it is now, but whether it's flow projections, there was some operation language in there. And I will agree with everybody probably in this room that, without a mechanical operation and a gauge system, you're never gonna have that to a point where you're always gonna have human error in it. It was, an inch of rain was 10 million gallons going into that, just runoff into that pond, from the tributaries and everything. So, there is when it does come in, it's a huge influx of water, and trying to adjust that manually through what you guess is an inch or two of play in that operational, that sluice it's difficult to understand CFMs and everything, but.
Yeah, it's not an exact science. We just experienced a county drought, so that throws a lot of our data out the window. So
Correct.
there's unfortunately, you gotta kind of look at the situation and do the best you can. And, I think, for example, today, there was a guy out, wind sailing, and, because the level was so low, he hit the island and he went flying. And, people, probably when they get out with snowmobiles, they'll do the same thing, thinking it's a raceway and not doing the smart thing. It's a little bit lower than it has been for the last couple of years. And so just trying to come up with a plan that can meet everyone's needs, and if it's in writing, at least there's something that can be, continuous improvement. But lessons learned, that type of approach. But, it just, we have, the town is gonna try to put a skating rink. We just had a little surge of rain the other day, the water level went up, so 10 feet around the shore was all open water. So how are people gonna get access? That would affect their skating rink. I don't think they have to redo it because of where they're located. And, we do have, the hockey tournament coming up. That's a big deal. And it's always an adventure of what ice conditions we're going to have. And unfortunately, the dam does play a part in that too. So that's why Joe was telling me the new policy that stays wide open. I'm not sure that will work for the pond hockey, but that's just my opinion. So it's just trying to get the people that have the knowledge and the stakeholders together to come up with the best plan that we can.
I'm sure it's, look at the data, well, the operations that I remember are definitely, were practiced for many, many years, and they finally just changed since, so it probably wouldn't hurt to revisit that and understand how to. An aesthetic level at that pond is difficult to control when you think about elevation difference between, I'll say, Frosties versus, 16. You have, so in order not to flood out Frosties or Sergeant's parking lot, you look at and try to not, and be able to keep water at a level above the stumpage. It's a very fine line, but yeah, it's a great idea.
You're right, and you have a geometric problem of Haley Pond has Gull Pond Stream coming in. That's probably just by dimensions, it's probably 5 to 7 times the opening. So what comes in has to try to come out, and that's the challenge.
You know if the state has any recommendations on a level for that? Any of the waterway?
That I don't know, Mr. Chair, but my thought in having conversations with Jim and some of the other folks, and Keith and other folks that manage the dam or operate the dam, is that it would be nice if there were some SOP or policy. And in order to create that, my thought is an ad hoc committee of stakeholders that can sit down and talk like we're talking right now, would be very helpful. And ask that question, was there some state guidance, is there a state group that, could help us with that?
The Army Corps of Engineers will, but I would not recommend that, because their help may be more help than we want. So it's a selective process.
Mark?
I think the records that Keith mentions, probably pretty important, because before Chip Hill, the Rangeley Sewage Treatment Plant was located at Public Works, and it discharged into Haley Pond, and, Frenchie took it upon himself to regulate that outlet there, and, he was pretty good at his record keeping, so I would suspect that if you dig back to pre-Chick Hill, that, you could get some valuable information from what Frenchie would have documented.
Good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cindy Egan, 14 Ellison Drive. Yeah, this has come up time and time again, and brought to the Board of Selectmen. I'm shocked it's gotten to this point, frankly. This is an important enough body of water where the state stocks it. And I would imagine they stock an amount that they feel the pond can sustain at a certain volume. So to have a blanket practice is irresponsible. And I'm just kind of surprised we're still dealing with it. This is nothing new. So I think, yeah, involving the state biologist, anyone that has, depends on that lake. Also the important history that Keith mentions, regarding, the town's prior involvement. It's not going to be an exact science, but boy, there's got to be a minimum. You don't want it to go.
That, just to go back up all that stuff, I do remember the EMA plan we had for that. And, you think about, you can look at level, you can look at all those shareholders and everything that have interest in that level, but we also know that, like, I remember my time in the state, meeting with the state was that spillway, in my feeling, will be in need of work sooner than later also. And that was always the point of contention, where there's no rush to work on that infrastructure. Like, that spillway would have to be probably, again, I don't know the volume in and out, I'm just gonna see it now as we practice it, but in order to manipulate our mechanisms, that dam and that spillway would have to accommodate whatever was put in. So as you move further to really look at a standard, allow you a standard to be like, okay, this, because again, to expect them to go down there, anticipate every storm or watch level on a daily basis, I think you're gonna just keep throwing stones at something that's never gonna accumulate. So I do agree with you.
But definitely a state project as well as town, as well as,
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna spend resources to stop that, there's
you
gotta
think they
be,
would wanna.
Blowing that off, maybe, just blowing information from the state, other entities that they will try to formally plan.
Sure, yeah, if you'd like to, you have the power to do that.
Make a motion to, yes, I mean, make a motion to create an ad hoc committee to study the Haley Pond Dam's purpose and.
Sam, second by Keith. Any other discussion?
And Mr. Chair, I can bring back a proposal for your number of members, the composition, duration, those type of things. I'll work with Mr. Gould on that if he's willing.
Yeah, we have started a list of stakeholders.
And I've shared that with the board actually.
And we'll, that's just what I could think of.
So I can bring some proposed bylaws back to you for that. And I envision this being temporary until this solution is derived at, and then you can solve it, or you can make it permanent if you like. That'll be your pleasure at that point. I see this ad hoc because it's gonna help us solve this problem and deliver policy and solve some of these, answer some of these other questions.
Well, Ethan.
Did we get any funding from the state for running that gearbox?
I don't think so.
And
Not that I've ever seen.
pretty sure the state owns the sluice, right? Keith still owns it. I'm just kind of curious about it, where it's two bodies of water owned by the state
Yeah,
and with their fish and other wildlife in it, and we send manpower down to mess with this gearbox. And then we're sitting here trying to figure out whether we're doing it right or, and yeah, I think we should ask them for their help to figure out how to properly do this, even though we've been doing it forever. But I'd also like to know how they might be able to fund our employees for taking time out of the day to run a sewer plant, messing with a stream that they own.
Mr. Chair, those are some of the things that I'd like to maybe discover as part of this, if we can. Those have been some of my concerns this whole time, is,
Because it's.
why is the town involved?
Right, it seems to me like the wide open, policy that we've been talking about. Well, I mean, should they be charged with making that decision? And I mean, they have to go down and do this all the time, and we don't have time to do it. So, yeah, I think that's worth the question. Of course, the state's not gonna cough up money right off the bat, but I'd like to see how it's handled in Belgrade and other towns.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we have a motion, any other discussion? All in favor? All right, I moved. All right, we got a piece of correspondence from the Maine State Police.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is, to me, and staff at the Maine State Police, sending, kudos to Chief Bacon and his folks at the fire department for hosting, Maine State Police dive team and other folks from all over New England that come to Rangeley and use, the waters here to train folks on diving, both summer and winter. They were here late summer, early fall this year. We follow up on this. This has been in my email for a little bit of time, and finally getting it to you. I wanted to share it with you. And publicly thank Chief Bacon and his folks for extending the hospitality to state police and their comrades.
All right, anything to be read in the record? Management reports, we got some updates from our department heads. Police, fire, and CEO. And also have our direct sheet. You want to hit on that one, Joe?
I did clean up a few things that haven't had any activity on the grant sheet. Because they're not there anymore, so taking them out, some things that were inactive. And I've updated the notes in the right hand column there, for recent activity. One thing that you don't see in this sheet, but I told the chair before the meeting, we were able to secure some, of the in-road, they're called in-road pedestrian crossing signs, not the ones with the beacons, but the ones that go in the crosswalk. We got those through the Maine DOT, they have a program where, the first come, first served program is in the last email, and you send an email back and say you want to. So we sent the email we wanted to, probably a month ago, or I would form to pick those up. And then recently they said we have so many left over. This is first come, last call, you know. So Chief Gaten stopped on his way up one day last week and got us, I think, 4 sets. We got a total of 6 pro bono. So I'll put that in there. There were no strings attached to that. There's no paperwork really involved. It's just an email exchange. So, but I will quantify it here on the sheet. And I have, just for the record, I have been still attempting to decline the COPS grant through the portal. There was some technical issues there, but I've talked to somebody in Washington, DC about that, so that is being officially declined.
Okay.
So those are the updates on that.
Nice, we got the calendar here, we got our list of stuff. I see we got a bunch of, budget committee and department head meetings that we're lining up. Just let the board know. Plan was this year, we'll sit down with the budget committee and department heads. Everybody's gonna hear everything all at once, so we go through the budget in a more efficient manner, I guess, than we did last year. We got the first 3 dates lined up here, and hopefully committee members, everybody get clear their calendars, make sure they make those. We got a quarterly meeting coming up with the plantations on January 9th. Got anything you want?
No, I think you covered that. We will break it into, as far as the budget meetings go, I will set that up with a handful of departments each night. Some of them will be kind of on standby. They may not be able to go the night that they're here, and they'll get held over until the following night. I will intend or endeavor to have capital be the first one, but I reserve the right to put that around. In the quarterly meeting plantations, and I don't know if I put it in my notes or not, but I did send an email out to all the plantations asking for feedback on the agenda. What I've heard back so far is, Sandy River would like to talk about the fire rescue formula. I will try to remember to let everybody know that there are planning efforts in place or ongoing about the July 3rd, 2026 fireworks. That's gonna be coming up. That's gonna be the 250th anniversary of our country. So we actually had a meeting here today with the Sergeant Foundation talking about that. So the fundraising efforts are going on, the planning efforts are going on. And there will be some outreach separate from us to the plantations, but for emergency management planning purposes, will remind the plantations that big event is coming up in 2026. I think that's all I have.
All right, Mark?
Yeah, on the department updates, on the Fraser Fire and Rescue, I was just curious, if on their activities, if they keep track of like the day and the time. What got me thinking about it was like over in the forestry, see the fire department, they have more flexibility with their staff now with the second full-time officer. And, like at the forestry museum, to make the best use of our staff and what days to be open and closed, we tracked the day's activity and what times and stuff, so that we could make sure there were people there on the historic, most active parts to get the most out of it. I was just thinking ahead, that might be good information for the fire department to have too, if they come to decide how they're gonna schedule people and things like that, if a pattern develops, on certain days and certain times and things like that, and have that person available at that time. Okay, just
Good idea.
a thought. Thank you for listening.
Any select board communication? Any motion for executive?
Make a motion to enter into executive session, MRSA Title 1, Chapter 13, Subsection 1, Section 4, 5, 16, labor negotiation.
Motion from Sam, second by Keith. All in favor? Move. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. All right, that's all right. That's 6:49 coming on executive session with no action to be taken. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Sam, second by
Second.
Jay. All in favor? Thank you. Merry Christmas.
See you, good night.
Right.